Hello, welcome to the Colorado Department of Transportation Highway Users Tax Fund Workshop video recording. In this video, we will discuss what the HUTF program is and how to provide CDOT with updates to your roadway data. We will also discuss some of the finer details of understanding and working with data to be reported. A second video will discuss how to use the online reporting site WebHUT to comply with HUTF requirements. Should you need to contact CDOT, please refer to the contact information shown here. You can also reach CDOT through WebHUT by clicking on the Contact Us tab. CDOT maintains several websites where you can find information and download data. CDOT's Open Data site contains GIS data that you can view and download. CDOT's Online Transportation Information System, or OTIS, also has GIS data as well as reports and other applications. Jurisdiction-specific GIS centerline data and roadway inventories are available for download from WebHUT. Information on accessibility and assistance can be found at CDOT's website, linked here. In the upcoming slides, we will discuss the significance of HUTF and various components of the program. We will also discuss the annual reporting process and some common reporting errors. You may provide your jurisdiction's roadway inventory updates to CDOT by paper reports and forms or electronically through our web-based reporting application WebHUT. WebHUT is the preferred method. Regardless of the reporting method chosen, your jurisdiction will need to provide CDOT with a signature sheet signed by the appropriate local officials, which certifies your jurisdiction's mileage for the year. Copies of the signed signature sheet can be emailed or uploaded to WebHUT. We like to have at least 2 contacts for each jurisdiction. One is the preparer, or the person who actually prepares the report. The other is the signer, or the person that signs off on the report. This is typically a mayor or county commissioners, those elected officials who attest to the accuracy of the documented official mileage contained within the report. Should your jurisdiction have a change in staff charged with HUTF responsibilities, please notify CDOT so we can update our records accordingly. Over the next few slides, we will discuss what HUTF is, the role of local governments in the program, the role CDOT plays, as well as the roles of the Department of Revenue and the State Treasurer. We will also briefly discuss some federal requirements. If you are new to the program, you may ask, what is the Highway Users Tax Fund, also known as HUTF? HUTF is state law documented in Colorado Revised Statutes Title 43, Article 4, Part 2. It was enacted in 1953 to redistribute fuel taxes and other fees to state and local governments for use in transportation-related maintenance and improvements. It also provides the opportunity for CDOT to receive updates on the over 85,000 miles of local roadways. HUTF involves a local, state, and federal partnership to ensure roadway data is accurately reported and updated on an annual basis. The role of local governments in the HUTF program is to first review and verify their existing tabular and GIS data. Local governments should then provide updates on those existing roadway characteristics, such as roadway condition, surface type, width, and description changes. They should then let us know about roadways that have been added or removed. This includes abandonments and annexations. Local governments are also charged with supplying GIS data or plats for changes that affect a road's alignment that CDOT can then use as a reference to update our master data sets. This would include when roads are added, extended, or realigned. We also encourage you to supply GIS data or plats when updates to your jurisdiction's boundary have occurred. CDOT has multiple roles in coordinating the HUTF program. Our primary task is incorporating both tabular and GIS data updates provided by local jurisdictions into CDOT's roadway network datasets. This includes data QC and validation tasks. After validation and final preparations, data can then be consumed by CDOT sites, internal business units, as well as many other entities, including state and federal agencies. Additionally, CDOT supports the GIS infrastructure it uses as well as the WebHUT site and its users by preparing data for the application and making sure the site is functioning properly. We also present training workshops to familiarize users with the HUTF program, create maps, and advise users on program requirements. After data has been fully validated, CDOT also certifies jurisdiction mileage numbers to the Colorado State Treasurer for use in their HUTF distribution calculations. As a final step, each jurisdiction is asked to provide a Receipts and Expenditures Report, also known as FHWA Form 536, to document how HUTF funds are spent or encumbered. This report is handled by CDOT's Office of Finance Management and Budget. Please refer any questions about this report to Eric Ebar at 303-757-9585 or Eric Ebar at state.co.us. Two other state agencies with important roles in the HUTF process are the Colorado Department of Revenue and the Department of Treasury. The role of the Department of Revenue is twofold. First, they collect the primary source of revenue for the program, including fuel tax and registration fees. Secondly, they report on motor vehicle registration data, which is handled by the DMV, a subsidiary agency. The role of the Colorado Department of Treasury is to bring together the data provided by both CDOT and the Department of Revenue in order to calculate each jurisdiction's fund allocation and to distribute those funds monthly. For specific questions pertaining to funding or to review current and historical funding allocations for each jurisdiction, you can visit their website by following the link provided here. Shown here is a diagram of the flow of data and funds into and out of the Highway Users Tax Fund. Registration fees, fuel taxes, and other monies enter the fund and are then redistributed back out to state and local governments based on allocation criteria described in the statute. One of the primary drivers for the collection of HUTF data is to help the state of Colorado to meet federal reporting requirements. CDOT is required to annually report roadway data to FHWA. In addition to basic roadway characteristics data such as surface condition or surface type, other performance metrics like average annual daily traffic or vehicle miles traveled may be collected on local roads and combined with HUTF data for federal reporting purposes. Additionally, federal analysis of reported data may be used to support potential funding initiatives aimed at transportation improvement projects. As such, the HUTF program plays a critical role in meeting these reporting obligations. In the upcoming slides, we will discuss some components of the annual HUTF reporting process. This will include the annual timeline with important deadlines. As previously mentioned, your submission to CDOT can be made with a traditional paper report or with WebHUT. We will quickly discuss how to review your jurisdiction's data and report any changes on paper here. Submitting changes via WebHUT will be covered in a subsequent video. We will also review common reporting errors and how CDOT verifies your data. Here's a timeline of HUTF activities throughout the year. Note that outreach occurs every fall, with workshops being conducted around September and October. You will receive notification in the middle of November that reports are available to be updated and that WebHUT is open to receive edits. You will then have the next few months to work on your reports and submit your changes back to CDOT. The deadline for reporting HUTF changes to CDOT is February 1st of each year. CDOT then begins its work of incorporating the received changes and preparing data to meet their required reporting deadlines. If you are utilizing paper to report your roadway changes to CDOT, you will use the Street Inventory Report and the Systems Change Report. Your Street Inventory Report lists your jurisdiction's roadway segments as reported the previous year. You will want to make changes to characteristics or attributes to the roadway segments on this document, which is shown in the next slide. Such changes might include from or to description changes or roadway condition changes. The Systems Change Report is for major changes. This would include new roads, annexed roads, length changes, or major reconstructions. Please fully complete the form by populating each section. This information is required to correctly register your segment. Supporting information such as GIS data or plats are required for these types of changes. An example of a Systems Change Report will also be shown. This is an example of the street inventory report. This is the appropriate place to denote changes to existing roadway segments. Simple changes shown here include from to changes, segment number updates, updates to surface width, and administrative class changes. Inspection and project year changes have also been reported here. Note that if you are using paper, you may just cross out an old value and replace it with the current value. WebHUT users typically just choose a new value from a drop-down list or input the updated value depending on the attribute. This is an example of the systems change report. This is where you will list your major changes, including adding new road segments, abandoning roads, annexes or de-annexes, and changes in length. Please complete each section of the form, including the map change number field and comments. Here is an example of a paper map that will accompany your inventory if you are reporting with paper and request a map. Note the handwritten number and circled roadways. For new road segments or changes you will list on the systems change report, draw the new road alignment on the map. Circle it and give it a number. The number correlates to the map change number field previously mentioned on the systems change report. This allows the CDOT staff to identify where your changes recorded on the systems change report are physically located. Note that many new streets or other changes in one location can be grouped together and given a single map change number. For example, a subdivision with many new streets. This is an example of the signature sheet that must be updated with your reported mileage and signed by the appropriate officials. WebHUT users will have their mileage tallied automatically by the application. Each jurisdiction must provide this to CDOT each year before your report is considered complete. As mentioned earlier, copies of the signed signature sheet may be emailed or uploaded to WebHUT in lieu of mailing your signed original. We will briefly discuss some of the components of your HUTF roadway inventory. We will first discuss route. Each roadway segment in your inventory is unique from all other HUTF segments by considering three components. Segment is the most basic unit of the inventory. Each segment number must be unique to that route and represents one record within the database. Segment numbers imply route direction. Route is the name given to a particular roadway. It can be made up of one or more segments. For counties, a route alias can be added in the route name field. For database purposes, route is an 11-character string with the last two places reserved for the route suffix. Because of this, the route field may be truncated or have added spaces to reflect this rule. A unique FIPS code is assigned to every incorporated place by the U.S. Census Bureau. These components added together will create a unique identifier for each segment within a route and within your jurisdiction's HUTF roadway inventory. The next roadway inventory component to be discussed is administrative class or admin class. This is to be determined by local officials, and its application determines a segment's HUTF eligibility. Admin class 1 or 2 are HUTF eligible. These are roadway segments that are open, used, and maintained by your jurisdiction. Admin Class 1 roads are those which are designed to handle higher traffic volumes and are coded as arterial service. Admin Class 2 roads are coded as local service, such as neighborhood streets. Admin Class 0 and 4 segments are not HUTF eligible and are noted with an asterisk in your paper inventory or a red X in WebHUT. Admin Class 0 is used for overlap segments, which may be from a jurisdictional or maintenance split scenario. This will be further discussed in future slides. Admin Class 4 is used for roads that are under construction that you want to add to your inventory, but are not yet open or maintained by your jurisdiction. Segments that fall within this scenario may be added as an Admin Class 4, and then the admin class may be updated in subsequent years once the roadway is open to the public and is being actively maintained by your jurisdiction. Admin Class 8 and 9 segments are not HUTF eligible. These are segments that are within your jurisdiction but not maintained by your jurisdiction. Admin Class 8 segments are those maintained by another entity. Such roads may be privately or federally maintained. Admin Class 9 segments are those that are primitive and not maintained. We will now briefly discuss some of the common reporting errors observed and how to avoid them. One common reporting error is the shortening of a segment's reported length and then filling in the gap that is created by adding a new segment. This causes a loss of data integrity. The correct method to address the situation where additional segments are needed where one segment currently exists is to split the existing segment as needed to create the desired outcome. Another error more recently seen is the repeated changes in a segment's reported length by very small amounts. This is likely a result of the use of WebHUT's Edit Segment by File Upload tool, where GIS measures are used to update lengths in bulk, or where rounding is causing lengths to change repeatedly when the road has not actually changed. These types of changes represent the same effort level to accommodate as an actual road extent change, yet do not result in significant funding changes for the jurisdiction and are discouraged. A difficult edit to decipher is when existing segments are physically moved by changes to the from and to descriptions and other attributes as shown in the next slide. In this example, the existing circled route RBV11 had its from and to descriptions changed along with its length to describe a physically different road that was not represented, shown in the large blue circle. With the reporting mechanisms available to CDOT, this type of change is difficult to determine so that the changes can be properly accommodated. Existing segments typically have characteristic attribute changes or are split or combined to create the desired segmentation. In this case, the existing segments should have remained where it was described and edited to reflect any necessary changes. The unrepresented road should have been added to the jurisdiction's inventory as a new road. As mentioned earlier, a route's segment number is a key component in organizing a jurisdiction's HUTF inventory. Segment numbers should reflect the direction of travel of a segment as described in its from and to descriptions. Segment numbers should increase in that direction. In the example shown here, a segment needs to be added to South Avenue between segments 100 and 200. You can see that the segment number 300 exists to the east of segment 200. This indicates that the route travels from west to east, and each of the segments from and to descriptions would need to depict this. You may want to use number 400 for the new segment to be added to represent the gap between Walnut and Elm Street, especially if you are only looking at this information in a tabular form. However, this would create a problem in that spatially, segment 400 now falls between existing segments 100 and 200. The correct segment number to apply here would be 150 or something that falls between 100 and 200. Picking 150 will allow you room for additional appropriate segment numbers in case you need to split this segment in the future. One of the primary errors seen in HUTF submissions is confusion over split or shared maintenance agreements and how they are represented in your inventory. For example, a segment that is 1 mile long and has a shared maintenance agreement between two jurisdictions might be like the scenario shown here, where one jurisdiction maintains the northern lane and another jurisdiction maintains the southern lane, in this case because of an annexation. Due to data coding limitations, this split in maintenance will be represented by each jurisdiction receiving a half-mile segment of the road in their inventory. Each jurisdiction will have an admin class 1 or 2 record in their inventory to represent their half-mile. There may or may not be a placeholder segment with an admin class 0 in each of these jurisdictions' inventories representing the other half-mile of this segment. Please discuss shared maintenance and annexation issues with the applicable neighboring jurisdiction prior to submitting your HUTF report. CDOT will field verify certain edits that affect HUTF funding allocations. This includes new roads or extensions, and additionally for counties, roads that are reported as now being paved or widened. For those changes that cannot be confirmed with current imagery or other reference materials, CDOT will send field crews to inspect and measure the road in question, comparing reported values with what is measured in the field. CDOT will notify you of discrepancies found that result in a required change that impacts funding. Should you wish to be involved in the field verification process, you may request to be contacted before field work is performed. Thank you for viewing the CDOT HUTF workshop video recording. Please view the second part of this video series that discusses how to use our online reporting tool WebHUT to comply with HUTF requirements. Please contact the HUTF staff, Aaron Rhodes at aaron.rhodes@state.co.us or 303-512-4843, or Travis Stieber at travis.stieber@state.co.us or 303-757-9800, or Brian Mass at brian.mass@state.co.us or 303-512-4844 for any additional assistance that you may need.